4. Been pretending to be a college student for the past 2 years. At 23 years old, I decided that I wanted to live the college experience because I had never had the opportunity to see what college was like. So I enrolled at the local university, which has around 30,000 students, and pretended to be a student there. I joined various clubs, went to classes, and I even got involved with a fraternity for a short stint. I simply told everybody that I was a sophomore and that I took the majority of my classes online. Nobody ever questioned me either. I assume that people think I'm around 20 or 21. I took advantage of the various clubs that the school had to offer. I joined a film production club, an improv club, joined a rec sports team, got involved with a church and ran the soundboard for them for a short stint, and I even got involved with a fraternity for a couple of months. This was all without even going to school there, but I figured it was a great way to get involved and meet people around my age relatively, even though the majority of them are 3 to 5 years younger. I also met many people, made some friends, and even got invited to parties. I'll be 25 in the next couple of months, and I'm starting to realize I probably won't be able to do this forever. There will come a day when I start to look noticeably older than everybody else. So I figure I may have another year or two before it's clear that I definitely look older than 21. I've been lying to my parents about going to college for a year and a half. I fucked up my grades and I'm now in debt. I didn't know I had ADHD or depression or half the shit I'd been diagnosed with after moving across country for college, and it completely wrecked my grades, so I lost my VA benefits paying for my schooling. I went into inpatient care and could just never salvage my grades afterward. I had to work long hours at a job to pay for my medication, then eventually just stopped going. It break my parents' hearts to hear I'm not going to school, and they'd bailed me out of student debt before. Long story short, my brother fucked up, and I had to take care of his 2 kids at the age of 19 and drop out of school to do so, or they'd be thrown into foster care, so I wouldn't feel right asking them for help again. I can't afford to pay it all back, so I've been lying to my parents about continuing schooling while I'm out here. I just wish I could take it back, pay everything off, get back into school, and have a fair chance at it again, but I feel so guilty about lying about it for so long now. I don't know what I'm going to do when it comes time I should be graduating, and I dread it every day. I've considered jumping off a bridge, taking too many of my meds that I can barely afford on top of rent and bills, or even just running into the forest and disappearing forever. I don't know what to do. I've stolen over 30 cups from Buffalo Wild Wings. 2 years ago around New Year's, my friends and I went to Buffalo Wild Wings. At the end of the meal, I unknowingly walked out with a drink in my hand. I kept the cup, and since then, I've made it a joke to take a cup by putting it in the takeout bag every single time I've gone since then. I keep them all in my apartment for everyone to use. I probably will still do it. I used to tell people that my aunt died in 911. Hear me out, I was 7 years old, my parents just got a divorce, and I had moved to a new school. I didn't know anyone, and I looked like a boy. I'm a woman. So naturally other kids kept their distance. I desperately wanted friends. So a couple days after 9/11, my teacher asked the class, did anyone know anybody that was affected by 9/11? Everyone looked around and nobody was saying anything, so I stood up, and said my aunt died. My mom doesn't want anyone to know about it though, so don't tell her. Everyone looked at me and were almost in an awe. The teacher gives her condolences, and we continue our day. During lunch and recess, I was the coolest kid. Everyone would ask me questions, and they wanted to be my friend. It felt amazing. I was on top of the world. Eventually, time went by and so did my fame. Anyhow, I ended up meeting friends through this that I am, to this day, still friends with. I changed the way I write the number 8 because I plagiarized another student's math homework. This was my freshman year of college. I am a senior now, and I was taking a pre-calculus class. We were assigned math problems to do outside of class and had to submit them by scanning our work onto our phones using an image scanning app, then submitting the scanned images online. I can't recall now why I hadn't done the homework that was assigned. I think I just simply forgot on top of the 4 other classes I was taking at the time. Anyway, the first week we were assigned homework I forgot to do these problems. This wasn't something I could crank out in 5 minutes. The assignment was due in an hour and I was freaking out. I take my classes very seriously and didn't want to lose those points for those problems. Luckily I knew a kid in the class and he let me take pictures of his work and submit them. This was the first time I had done anything remotely like cheating. I was scared to death that the professor would find out and I would get kicked out of college. My life would be over. So since this was the first assignment in the class, the professor didn't know our handwritings. I decided that I need to change the way I write numbers to look similar to the students I copied. I remember that the one number that looked completely different between our handwriting was the number 8. He made his like 2 circles on top of each other and I did the figure 8. So from the moment forward I began writing my 8s the same way he did. The professor never found out. She probably didn't even look at the homework, but to this day I still write my 8s like that kid did. I'm obviously not worried now that I'll get caught, but I just became habit and every time I write my 8s I think about that story. I set an orphanage on fire. I got a job at an orphanage and when I was walking around cleaning I went into my boss's office to smoke a cigarette. He wasn't there, so I thought I could get away with it. I would usually put it at the bottom of the trash can so he wouldn't notice it. Once I did, I left the room. 2 hours later the fire department is here and the office is destroyed. Luckily they were able to put it out before it could spread. I've never told anyone since. I faked a huge portion of my Welsh BAc level. For those of you outside of Wales who don't know, after you graduate secondary school, 16 years old, you have the option to go to 6th form for A levels for 2 years minimum, which is basically the step before college/uni. If you choose to do A levels, it is mandatory to take a subject called Welsh BAc, which is basically understanding and helping society. Obligatory. This was 2 years ago, my first year of 6th form. Each of us were assigned a month-long project where we had to find a community of some sort, help them, host events/donations, any sort of assistance, and make a report of it all. This project was a large percentage of our final grade, and Welsh BAc is a subject you need to pass to graduate. Most students went to volunteer in hospitals and community centers, but I was too lazy for that. What I did was that I went to a nearby sports center, where a weekly community sports event occurred, and I took pictures of the event. I then photoshopped the images to edit out and edit in anything I needed. This was because you needed evidence in the report of your community and project. For the text, I basically BS'd the entire thing. I can't remember exactly how, but I did ask others for advice and what figures they were using. Of course, I changed and adjusted all the text and images to avoid any form of plagiarism, and I was able to fake a whole month of work within a few days. As I went through 6th form, no issues regarding that report arose and no one was suspicious of it, and I was able to graduate with a passing grade in Welsh BAc. I only told people who I could trust or didn't give a shit. TLDR, I photoshopped and BS'd a month-long project/report in a few days for a project worth a large percentage of a needed subject to graduate. I stole from a charity. It was early 80s. I was 11 or 12. Definitely old enough to know right from wrong. Back then there were all sorts of fundraisers for UNICEF, a children's charity. They would have those displays that would hold a quarter and a box underneath for bills. You would see them a lot at 7-Eleven or in my case, White Hen. A friend and I were getting candy or some crap at the store and the clerk asked us if we wanted to fundraiser. We were like sure. He gave us a little milk carton with a slot for cash and off we went. When we started we completely intended to bring the money to the clerk. As the day sent on and door after door shut in our faces, we decided fuck it. The clerk never asked us for any information but our first names, which we lied about because Stanger danger, so they couldn't prove anything. It was close to $10 if I recall correctly. As an adult I give regularly to multiple causes, and it just hit me that I bet subconsciously I'm owning for this.